Welcome back to Everyday Kentucky. On today's Truck Talk series with H&A Law, lawyer John Hollan joins me now, and we are talking about the history of truck regulations.
So thank you for having us again, as always. This is a topic, as you know at this point, that we've talked a lot about rules and the laws and how those are ever changing. Trucks are very heavily regulated. We've talked about President Trump's recent executive orders and how some of the regulations with trucks, technology continue to change. But it's not new. The regulations which impact truck drivers actually go back to 1937. It's the Interstate Commerce Commission. So for almost 90 years at this point, the federal government has looked to regulate trucks and the drivers who drive them, and for good reason. You at this point, I'm sure know, they're typically 70 feet, up to 80,000 pounds. So the rules that apply to truck drivers and trucking companies are a lot different than those that apply to regular motor vehicles. Going back to 1937, it was largely hours of service that were being looked at. So that means the number of hours that a driver can drive, the number of hours that a driver has to rest, and the log books that they have to keep relating to those hours and the time that they're spending on the road each day.
And there's always a reason for these regulations, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Typically with any type of federal rule, there's going to be a big investigation and kind of there are different studies that go into those. Today AI, self-driving, those are very hot topics. But after decades, or at this point almost a century of the rules, it's always being studied. What issues are impacting society the most, and what do we need to do to look at the industry, make it safer, and how can that be regulated in a way that protects the public, but also is fair to these drivers and their companies for compliance.
So if a trucking company or a motor vehicleist, somebody is looking to get in contact with you all to see your recent case studies or anything like that, how do they do so?
Yeah, so we are located here in Lexington. Our office is 620 West Main Street. We've talked about it a lot, but I do represent people involved in motor vehicle crashes with trucks, but we also represent a lot of truck drivers. Whether it's truck on trucks or truck drivers injured by other standard vehicles. That's a big part of our clientele. I have a lot more about that on our website, which is semijustice.com, and our direct contact line is on the screen below.
Thank you so much, John, for another informative Truck Talk.
Thank you.